everyone, and welcome to our usual Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm one of your hosts, Noor Kyle, along with
the other one of your hosts, Mushtaq Ali.
And first of all, we want to thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us live here on Zoom, which of course anyone can join if they get the link from our Facebook group or our mailing list. Both of those links are below in the description. But if you're joining us on the replay on YouTube, we're very happy to have you as well. And of course, if you're joining us on YouTube, or even if you're one of our regulars here and you have not subscribed or anything like that yet, please do. It would be so helpful for us right now as we are campaigning to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can join YouTube's partner program and get rid of the commercials on our videos, since that's something that we have not been thrilled about having happened with or without our consent, to be honest. That's not what we want here.
And while most people join the thing so that they can monetize their videos, we're going to join so that we can demonetize our videos. We don't want any of their filthy money.
No, we don't. And we also don't want to end up advertising things that are the opposite of what we're advocating for here, which is human adulthood and awakening and critical thinking and interdependence, all of those important things that we care about, which unfortunately a lot of these ads don't seem to be promoting as much. So there you go. Other than that, just like every YouTuber says, please feel free to comment, to like or dislike our videos according to what feels true to you. We try to respond to all of the comments we get, and we've gotten a lot of really great ones over the past few months as people become more active in those conversations and stuff that we have on many of our videos at this point. So thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to add? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, do think about clicking that like button down there, because I mean, it takes you a second, but it makes a really big difference for us in YouTube's arcane algorithms. How many people like our videos for some reason. I mean, it's a popularity contest or something. Who knows?
And you know, while we do not want to do the whole advertisement thing, we do want people to watch our videos and to share them and enjoy them and learn from them. So the more people we can reach, the better. And you can help us out by subscribing and liking, and that would mean a whole hell of a lot. So thanks.
So there you have that. And we have a special thing that I am going to tell you about right now at this very instant, which is, let me get it up on the screen, and then I'm going to share the screen with you. You can now, again, for the first time ever since the last time, get yourself one of these. And this is very exciting. Voila, your very own Nine-Sided Circle t-shirt.
Swag.
Except no substitutes. Later on, we will have more different things. I have got the price point set down on this as low as I can get it. So we're not going to be making a huge profit off of anything that we sell, just a little bit, but it's a great way to support the school. And, you know, Christmas is coming up in not that long, 6 months, Christmas, great presents.
Yep.
So there will be a link in the description below on how to get yourself one. So there you go.
And I think we're going to have a couple different styles to start, but if you have a particular preference for a style, like, a more fitted shirt, just let us know.
We got t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies. Just something for everybody, but represent.
Yep. So each of us, we have ones on the way that we'll wear when we want to, and if anyone wants to join us, that would be super fun. All right. Oof.
And eventually we will have silly hats for everybody to get.
Soupy's gotta have Them silly
yeah.
hats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you ain't real unless you have a silly hat.
All right. So does that cover all the bases right now, pretty much? I mean, we still have one-on-ones available for anyone who's interested in that. You
Well,
can get
you
in
have
touch with
them.
us.
I
Yeah,
am now filled up again.
he's full. I still have a space or two open. So yeah, reach us at the info@9sided circle or on Facebook, and we can set you up. All right. So this evening we are talking about something that doesn't seem to be touched on a whole lot in literature or in contemporary teachings and stuff like that. And that is this idea of 9 universal emotional states, 9 emotional essences. And Mushtak is going to tell us a little bit about that by way of introduction.
Okay. So, I'm all blurry again. Now I'm red. Oh no, now I'm purple. Oh. How's this?
Good. That was very stylish.
Still blurry. What can you do? All right, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to tell you whether I'm blurry or not. Hopefully my words won't be blurry. And eventually my camera will wake up and do its thing. So back in the 60s, there was a guy by the name of Paul Ekman. He's still around, still teaching. And he started studying facial expression. And he discovered that he was discovering that there were universal facial expressions that everybody had, no matter where they were. He studied faces from tribesmen in New Guinea. He looked at faces everywhere. And he has recognized 6 for sure, and 1 that he's pretty sure of. And he's built an entire science around that. So the idea of there are these universal hardwired emotions that you can see in facial expressions. Well, as it happens, about 4,000 years ago, these dudes that are hanging out in the Himalayas figured out kind of the same thing. And they created an entire science around it. This is like pre-Vedic stuff, as I understand it. And there happened to be 9 of them. I ran across this back in India in the 70s. And it was like, interesting. 9, you say? 9. Where have I seen that number before? And so I laid them out on the Enneagram. And I've tinkered with it a little bit from time to time. The Enneagram was not an original part of this teaching, but it begged us to do it. So we did it. And where did Nancy go? For some reason, we're getting all sorts of people popping back and forth. I don't know why.
You mean like in the
yeah, in this people who are not making a sound, who are like quiet like mice, and they're just popping in and out. So I'm assuming that the program is glitching just a little bit. Bear with us, folks, because even if it's weird, the material is still there. So I'm going to pull up the Enneagram of the Rasas. Now, Rasa is an interesting word in that Rasa means, it's most often used as a taste now, but it means the most pure, essential part of a thing. And so in Ayurvedic medicine, you have rasayanas, which are really, really potent medicines that they make. But in this case, it's talking about the emotional rasas.
And this is a Sanskrit word, right?
Yeah, Sanskrit word. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mostly we're going to be throwing Sanskrit words at you tonight. So let's take a look at the Enneagram and see what it looks like. here it is. In honor of this coming out of the Indus Valley, we have Shiva's trident here instead of the usual bee. And here are the 9 emotions as the Rishis of the Himalayas saw them maybe 4,000 years ago. Now, some of this you go, oh, I could see how this might relate to the Enneagram of personality. Maybe a bit, but doesn't have to. It stands on its own, and the connections stand on their own. And you could do your own and put them in different ways if it works for you, because there was no particular order as far as I can tell. It's whatever they wrote down at any given time. So we're going to see. This is the most important one up here, Shanta. Shanta comes from the same root as Shanti. Shanti means peace. Shanta means tranquility, centeredness, calmness, peace, but also awareness at the same time. Not like sleepy peace, but here you are. This is just another way of saying the natural state. This is the natural state. And the quote on the thing that we have put up to advertise this is something that the person who taught me about this said. He said that Shanta is the natural state, and these other 8 are journeys from it. And so you should be able to journey from the natural state while staying aware as necessary, and then return. And that's the whole point of this entire teaching, is to clean up your fundamental core emotions and be able to move into them and out of them and have Shanta be your base state. So you're doing all of this stuff, and then when you have a break, you go back to calm. Calm is good. We like calm. So Shanta is the first and most important of them all. You'll see on the triangle, Shanta, love, fear. Those are like the 3 most core states of all of these. When this says love, it's not talking about agape love of the Greeks. It's talking about love. It's talking about attraction. It's talking about energy between people, all the way down from the highest attraction to the most imminent and graphic reproductive urges. It's all contained with this. And fear, as we know, is the base human state when people are asleep. As an old friend used to say, man is a fear-based being. So we look at this triangle, and that gives us like the foundation of all of this. And then we look at the moving lines. At point 1 here is virya. Virya means courage. It is the ability to face things with bravery, to not run from confrontation. Hasya, joy, is to experience the wonderfulness of the world. Everything from gazing at your beloved, which is not necessarily love, but it could be joy, to listening to beautiful music, to watching puppies play. Now, karunya is sadness. And you'll notice that sadness is connected to virya, courage, and to hasya, joy. So how do these three relate? We will get to this. Over here at point 5, we have bibhatsa, which means disgust. And we'll get back to that too. Very important emotion. Abhuta is wonder. It is the experiencing the marvelousness of the universe at any point along the way. If you become a parent, it's that moment when you see your child and go, holy crap, I helped do that. It is standing on the rim of the Grand Canyon at sunrise and watching the sun start hitting the walls of the canyon and creeping down towards the bottom. It's any of these things. And then the last, but not the least, Raudra, anger. That's fairly self-explanatory. And so here we have them, and they interact and they mean things to us. Every human being, unless they have some sort of severe organic damage to their brains, experiences all of these, according to the teaching. You know, and Ekman says basically the same thing, though he has different names for some of them. And we don't need to go into that right now. Just know that it can be different. So the thing is that especially in the more contemporary places where you might hear about this, or you might have heard about it, there are not very many, they have the idea of the friendly emotions and the not friendly emotions, the good emotions and the bad emotions, emotions you want to cultivate, emotions you want to avoid. And that's bullshit. There is no moral value one way or the other to any of these emotions. They can be positive or negative in context. This is important to understand. Yes, Noor?
Well, I was going to add, and these are instinctual, right? Like they're
this
innate.
Is all moving center stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, we all have these within us, and in the context we're talking about, we're not talking about stifling any of them. They have served their purpose evolutionarily, and they serve their purpose even now. But it just depends on context whether or not they are a good fit to the context.
Yeah, so you're hanging out in the bush and a tiger walks up. Now you could experience wonder or sadness, but fear might be the most appropriate emotion at the moment, because your body is going to need all of those chemicals that fear generate to maybe get away from the tiger. Joy is great, unless you're, at a traffic accident. Maybe not the most appropriate response. Sadness, nobody likes to be sad, but sadness develops compassion and the interconnectedness to all life. Without sadness, you don't really develop a conscience. Anger can be very, very inappropriate at times, and it can be the best possible response at other times. So who can think of disgust? Let's talk about that, because you think, oh, disgust, yeah. Disgust is the emotional response that keeps you from dying of food poisoning. Right? It keeps you from getting cholera or typhoid or any of these fun diseases, because your body says, no, let's not go there. Let's not eat this green fuzzy piece of meat that's been sitting in the refrigerator for the last 4 months. Let's not wade through this raw sewage. It might be bad for us. So disgust can be an incredibly positive emotion in the moment, depending on what is going on. And from all of these, we return to Shanta.
So Dave says in response to disgust, it keeps you from buying the book, The Secret. Yes.
Yes.
I have to admit, it's very functional in that way.
Yeah, save yourself some money and some headaches. All right, let's put this down for the moment and talk about this.
Okay.
So what do you think? What do you think of
so
this?
far, does anyone have any thoughts they want to share, or examples and experience perhaps with one of these that, yeah, let's like take the ones that we tend to characterize as negative, like anger, sadness, fear, disgust. I would love to hear if anyone feels up for sharing. What was a scenario in which you found that emotion useful to you? Who's feeling brave enough to share right now? Okay, so we got one from, the chat's being funky. Yeah. Mr. Keem says, he's a question.
Yes.
In thinking about how to read them, I understand that they are moving points. The triangle is tranquility, love, fear. Why not tranquility, fear, love?
Because fear is definitely the second shock. The hardest one to overcome, the one that requires a certain amount of surrender to get through.
That's a very interesting question. Thanks.
Yeah, it is. And that's when I had to struggle over. It's like, where does fear go in this?
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to me in a flash. Angels came down and told me, and this is the one true way.
The one true way.
The one true way, except for all of the other ways. But we don't talk about them because this is the one true way.
Yes. All right. So yes, these so-called unfriendly emotions. Let's talk about that in the sense that, Chris, do you feel up for sharing a time where a unfriendly emotion proved useful for you?
You know, I'm actually thinking of just a slight difference in that I wish that, well, it might have been easier if anger was an emotion I was experiencing in a couple fights that I was in, where they both involved surprise attacks.
Oh my gosh.
And like my response was like, hey man, no, it's all like, we're all cool here. And then it was like, oh, another strike coming, you know. So moving into the anger response, maybe that would have made things a little bit easier. So
yeah,
I'm some. I mean, there's always the avoid the weird food that you're glad you did story, but you know, I was thinking about that one particular situation because it was pretty charged. You know, well, a couple situations that were quite charged.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair example, and I can think of plenty of similar scenarios. More like similarly interpersonal scenarios where anger probably would have saved me a lot of heartache and frustration if I had just allowed myself to feel that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's part of what we're talking about here is accessing these emotions in a contextually meaningful way. Yeah. So carry on, Mashak, I think.
Yeah. Anger gives you the power to say no.
Mhm.
That's one very important part of it. If you need to say no and you can't find it in yourself, you pull up a little bit of anger and all of a sudden the no is there.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you have to go into rage or anything like that. It just means a little bit of anger, as seasoning, as a spice. That certain je ne sais quoi in the conversation.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, Jonathan, go for it.
Yeah, I had an experience with anger. I was walking in the woods, and I like to wander off the beaten path sometimes. And I wandered into a little gypsy encampment. And they obviously felt I was getting too near, and I discovered their little encampment. The next minute, I knew there were 5 large dogs just bellowing down the hillside at me, barking. And I was scared of dogs. I did not like dogs. And something in me, rather than returning and running, I turned to face the dogs and I ran at them, yelling at the top of my voice, looking as aggressive as I possibly could. And 3 of the dogs I chased right off, but the 2 real big aggressive dogs stood their ground. And I had to go for them again, run right at them yelling. And that finally got the last 2 dogs to go too.
Yeah.
And the gypsies were just watching this, and it was all entertaining for them.
Yikes. Wow.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you had turned and run, they would have chased you down and bit the crap out of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So there you go. Great example. Thanks for sharing. All right. So what's next?
Pick an emotion.
Wonder.
All right. When is wonder good?
When you're awake.
Yes, it's true.
When you're awake, right? Is that what you said? I want to make sure I heard
That's
you
what
right.
they said.
Yeah. Yep.
So wonder leads to curiosity. Think about that. Wonder leads to curiosity. One of those, that's so cool. Wow, why is that so cool? Curiosity leads to discovery. Discovery leads to very valuable patents.
No,
Got one laugh out of it.
I agree with that, because when you're teaching people how to do things that are really boring in their eyes, to give them wonder about the small things in small movements and small revelations and insights and curiosity in their own habits of moving, that helps them try to look for a few more, because that feeling is so rewarding if they can actually sit still enough to actually feel it, to actually sensate that. The feeling is often skipped over by just running through repetitions and, yep, done it, I'm done. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't feel a thing. You didn't actually own that thing. So I find that very useful to find wonder. And I think it's because I actually find myself easily distracted. I have to find the wonder in the discipline that I'm applying myself to, so that I stay there. What is it? What is it? So the curiosity, everything you've said is actually so pertinent to practice. If you're getting bored, you're not asking enough question about it, being curious about it, going deeper. That way you will find your insight.
I had a feeling you were going to have some thoughts on that one. Thanks, Sheree.
So, any other favorite emotional states? Mustakim. Okay, we've already begun to address that.
Oh, Nancy, did you have a thought?
Oh, a couple odds and ends. Here's one. It's interesting that courage is listed as a positive emotion.
Yep.
Because what I keep hearing is, oh, you can be frightened, but still have courage. And people keep repeating it so much that I feel like there must be something wrong with it.
Yeah, we don't list courage as a positive emotion. None of these 9 are positive or negative.
Right. Yeah.
Courage can be positive and it can be negative.
Yeah, excuse me. I didn't mean positive in that sense.
Yeah.
I meant positive in the sense of it's an actual thing.
Yeah. So, when is courage positive?
When there's something dangerous that's worth doing.
When is it negative?
When there's something dangerous that is not worth doing.
Yep. Or when there's something dangerous that's worth doing, but you don't have the skills to do it.
Yeah.
That's trouble. Yeah.
Yep.
Foolhardiness.
Yep.
Yep. Chris, were you gonna offer a thought? I saw you unmuted.
I was thinking about tranquility and self-witnessing and seeing these going together like my own felt sense.
Funny you should mention that. Yes, they do go together. Towards the end of this talk, we're going to talk about the practice that goes with this, that allows you to begin to sort these out, clean them out, gain not control over them, because in a sense you can't control these. These are like reflexive, but not to be trapped by them. If you experience fear, in the moment that you do, you fully experience the fear. And when the moment is over and you've dealt with the situation, you let it go. That way you don't get PTSD. When you experience love, you experience it fully. And then when it's over, you let it go. That's why you don't get arrested for stalking someone.
Typically a good thing, not getting arrested for stalking.
I've always thought so. So, any other emotions that you would like to think about? Speak of, contemplate, discuss. Levita, I see you thinking deeply there, or falling asleep, one of the two. I can wait. Take all the time you want. So, what do you think about what haven't we touched on? I think that we have touched on all of these.
Can you talk about sadness again?
About which ones?
Sadness.
Yeah, we could delve a little deeper into sadness. Yeah.
Yeah, sadness is an interesting one, because sadness, what creates sadness? What creates sadness for any of you?
So my example is my mother watching my father slowly disappear down the dementia rabbit hole, and he's almost iconic. And they've had a love affair for over 50 years, and she's done everything with him. And she is experienced deep sorrow, not just sadness, this deep sorrow and grief for things as they used to be, and how she misses doing things together, everything from going to appointments to going to with friends to going on holidays to just living a life together. That sadness, I was wondering, not in the emotion thing, but wondering how to help her carry this sadness. She has to bear this sadness. How to move her into other states, how to be empathetic towards her in a kind way, because there are people around her saying she needs to get over it because this is life. It's so harsh, so harsh. That's not love to me.
Yeah, and she doesn't have to get over it to tell you the truth. She gets to experience this whatever way she wants. And I remember back when I was a wee lad in graduate school, my philosophy professor saying to me, "Do you know what the most important thing is in life?" And me saying, "No, what is it?" And he says, "Nobody can die your death for you." And that made me think a lot, because it's absolutely true. Nobody can die your death for you. And along with that, nobody can experience any part of your life for you. So your sadness and how you deal with that is your own, belongs to nobody else. And my opinions of how somebody else does it is just an opinion, which, as everybody knows, is like, et cetera, et cetera. If somebody comes to me and says, "Help me with my sadness," I will do my best to do that. And my first question will always be, what would you like to be doing instead of being sad? And once I have an answer to that works for them, I know I can help them with their sadness. But it might be that they need that sadness. They might need to grieve. The sadness is, this kind of sadness connects you to other people. That's an important thing to know about it. So with your mother feeling sadness over your father, that maintains her connection to him. And she is probably maybe better off having that connection than not having it. If she didn't have that connection, what would she be like? Non-rhetorical question. Think about it, tell us.
If she didn't have that, she wouldn't be human. She wouldn't.
Well, probably
herself,
not.
Yeah, the humanness of her, I think, is what's so beautiful. To see the it's not adoration, but it's that connection that she has, and how powerful, and devotion. That's the word I'm looking for, devotion. That devotion has a purity to it, which is so admirable. To keep that connection to him, to visit him every day, to ensure that he is fed and bathed and taken care of, despite the condition that he is in, I think is extraordinary. To watch anybody who's doing that for their spouse without abandoning them, without saying, "I'll only visit you on birthdays and Christmas." We see it all the time because the nursing home is full of that. To see someone who's actually, it's a sacred practice, isn't it? That kind of devotion to another human, where the action is demonstrating something more than words can say.
Yeah. And as long as she has that sadness, my theory is that she is still connected with your father, that they actually have an energetic connection that is moving back and forth and is probably in a certain sense sustaining her, even though it definitely is not going to feel good.
Sometimes when she goes, "Do you know I love you?" and he'll pop out with a phrase, "That's good to know," and then he's gone again. It cracks us up. We go, "Gosh, he was there. He was there for a moment. Good to know."
That's a big deal, though. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's a big deal for your mother. Yeah.
Sometimes I think we assume that they don't understand. They just can't speak. He's lost speech for most of the time. So I think that that's a wonderful example of, keep loving, keep doing the right action so that that person never feels abandoned. That's, we can all fall down that rabbit hole. We don't know why it happens, but it happens even with the best of intentions to be healthy. So I think that's a great thing. That connection is a witnessing that is a fine example to the others in our family.
Mm-hmm. Yep. One of the, sorry, go ahead if you want to finish your thought.
Wonder if the way you run your life right now, where do you see yourself in the same situation? Who will be at your side? That's a very telling thing.
Yep.
It comes down to the crunch. Who will be at your side in the hardest of times?
Yeah. Yep. So what I was going to add is that, as Mushtaq mentioned previously, some of the emotions that live within the umbrella of sadness are things like compassion, pity, sympathy, just that ache of connection with other beings. And I do see that manifesting in what you're sharing about your mother towards your father. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
And that's alongside grief and the pain of loss and all that stuff too.
So before we go on, anybody else with any thoughts on this?
I have something on this that's recent
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So,
Dave and then Wayne will follow. So
Yes.
go for it.
okay. So during my younger years, I had a very much the suppression of sadness, as is the way of my peoples. And it kind of closed up throughout teenage years and into adulthood and all of those things. Kind of looking at it, it was kind of the actual fear of experiencing the sadness was what kept it in motion, along with some armoring patterns. And so those kind of opened up throughout some of the work I've done over the years, but it was only literally last week that I had an experience of full convulsive sobs, which I haven't had since I was 12 years old. And it didn't actually have any suffering with it, which I've been told by Lawrence occurs. And so it was just this experience of the energy of sadness. It was actually, besides being incredibly relieving and nice and all of those things, it was actually incredibly interesting because I could feel these stuck patterns going up in my body and then hitting the heart and then digesting and then going up into tears. And there's this kind of rhythmic thing to it. And then I felt some sensations I haven't really felt since I was a boy, which were actually not bad. They were just kind of this richness of life. And then today in the morning, when I was doing some stretching, oddly enough, I could actually, some of the areas of the internal aspect of my body that event woke up were now active when I did my practice, but without any sadness occurring. So it had kind of like liberated these areas that I've been trying to get into for years, and just like, I wonder why I can't get in there. And it was the fact that I had not had this like total expression of sadness in my body that had blocked those. I've had the total expression of laughter lots of times, and that one's more fun, but they're both really, really rewarding. And later on, you often feel like we've been talking about, nice extra bonus connection and all of these things. And for me, it's just this thing, like, to be a human, I want to be able to laugh and cry fully whenever it's appropriate, as well as all those other emotions. So a lot of the other ones I can do without any resistance, but I've been looking at sadness for years and just going, I know I can't do you fully. I'm getting better. But then last week, there it was. And it feels quite nice now.
Wow.
That's excellent. Because
pretty
if you learn to do
spectacular.
that like that, then you don't have to have the hard lessons about sadness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I mean, there can be something very cleansing about the kind of experience you're talking about. Just like, I mean, in some ways, I think the fear is there because there are ways in which we can be re-traumatized by like getting deep into a state of racking sobs and all that stuff like that. But as Mushtaq was saying previously, if we allow it to come up and then just without judgment, without this clenching onto or like trying to claw our way away from it, just letting it happen and then pass through us, it's a lot less traumatic that way. And I think it sounds like you were able to experience this thing that had been kind of eluding you for a long time, which can create a lot of buildup, but it sounds like you were able to process that in a way that was free-flowing and not so much a clinging to or clawing away from, and that probably made it a lot less painful for you to experience. So that's lovely. I'm so glad.
Yeah, that's a very positive thing. Lawrence would be happy. I would be happy. Okay, and then Wayne was going to say something.
Yes, and after that, we'll get to Mr. Keen's question. So yeah, Wayne, go for it.
I feel like we're swinging the pendulum so far away from the embodiment to the thinking side of things with my trying to fulfill that mortal sin of hanging this model onto hooks that I already have.
Oh, no.
So one of the other models that I work with has this idea that we have a bunch of these typically high energy states: anger, fear, grief, and shame. And from what we've been talking about, it looks like the grief lives under that sadness heading. Does shame live under disgust, or is
shame will live under disgust? Yes.
And that leads to the next thought of, does this set of 8+1 actually map to the whole of the human experience, or are these just primaries?
These are the primaries. When you begin to combine them, they talk about, I guess you would translate it as sub-rasas, where you take like disgust and anger and combine them together and you get contempt, which may or may not be a primary emotion according to Ekman, but it's definitely a powerful one.
Yep.
So yeah, there's lots and lots of combinations. You can combine them by 2s, by 3s, by 10s. We just lost somebody. Hopefully they'll make it back before this is over.
Are there emotions that are not represented by combinations of these 8, 9?
That's a good question. The people who taught me this would say, no, there are no emotions that are not related to this, but it's like making this alchemical mixture of feelings to get a particular emotion. I don't know if that's true or not. I use it as a working hypothesis until I find definitively one way or the other.
Yep. And, you know, we tend to be mapped as not the territory people, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, this is a definitely useful model for a lot of reasons and purposes. So,
Mush, can you please say something about the origins of these teachings?
Yeah. So think about 4,000 years ago, the Indus Valley and the mountains around it. You had these cats called Rishis, and there were both male and female Rishis, as far as I know, and they were like incredibly powerfully spiritually developed individuals who lived up in the foothills of the Himalayas and sometimes a little bit higher, and would sit and meditate and figure out the inner meanings of the universe, and they came up with it. That's the story. I wasn't there, so I can't attest to this as being 100% true. This is pre-Hindu in a sense, in that Hinduism, the Vedas had not been written down or spoken at this time. And according to the people I learned this from, this stuff is so entwined in Vedic thinking and especially in Ayurvedic thinking that you almost can't see it. You know, it's a forest for the trees thing now. I don't know if any of what I said is actually true. Sounds plausible.
you mean in terms of the history and stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, 4,000 years ago is a long time.
Yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, that's the best guess story, I guess we could say.
These Rishis have an identity? Did they go by any names or things? And if
We have some stuff that's written down. We don't know. You know, this is not like, you know, I can look at the Vijnana Bhairava and go, Vasugupta wrote this down. But I can't do that for this. So if you and your researchers ever run across something, let me know, because I would be fascinated to find, even if it's legendary stories.
Yeah, bring it on. It's gonna be fun. Does that help answer your question as best as we're able to? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, sometimes, I mean, I could make up some really good, plausible stories about this, but that would be cheating.
Cheating. All right, so we have a question from Mustaqim.
Mm-hmm.
He asks, who is in the center of the Enneagram, of this emotion Enneagram? I assume it is the I, watching oneself through any of the emotions on any, I assume it's, at any particular time.
Yeah, you've answered your own question there. It is you at the center of this Enneagram. It is me. It is Noor. It's Chris. So that's the answer. It's
that's a good question.
And that gets us to the last bit of what we're talking about tonight, which is, once you know about this, how do you work with it? So there is a practice called Prana Bindu Ahram Kriya. Let me say that again. Prana Bindu Ahram Kriya. Prana Bindu. Prana means breath. Bindu means point. Ahram means to pause. And Kriya means an action. Now, Bindu, in this case, is a very specific reference. So you know about the 7 chakras, right? Did you know that there is a secret 8th chakra called Bindu chakra? And it is in the back of the head, usually. It is the chakra that was the crown chakra when we were 4-leggeds, according to the people who taught me this thing. And it is now a hidden chakra that is almost never activated. So the bindu that this talks about is the bindu of the bindu chakra, which is very, very potent once you start working with it. So this is broken up into 4 interlocked components of this practice. The first is called Adima Pranayama, and it's a particular breath practice to do with this. The second is called the Mahabandha, the great bind, and it is a way to use certain locks, 3 different locks in your body that basically regulate the energy along a particular path. The fourth is called the Kachari Mudra. And this is a very difficult thing to do at first, but it is a way of moving your tongue up to the back of your mouth and literally eventually learning to slip it up your sinuses to stimulate the Bindu chakra. And the last part is called Pratyaveksh, which is a particular way of working with your attention. So this practice is designed to help you not gain control of these emotions, because they're like reflexes. They happen whether you want, I mean, you could gain conscious control over it, just in the same way that you gain conscious control over the reflex of pulling your hand away from something hot. You know, you can go, if you go, oh, I touched it, and you pull it away, that's a reflex. You can force yourself to keep your hand on the hot thing. You can do that. You may regret it, but you can do it. There is no advantage to this. I mean, you know, you aren't G. Gordon Liddy holding your hand over a flame. And that proves nothing. Understand that each of these is reflexive in nature. But what you can do is not allow yourself to slip into mechanical patterns as each of them comes up, and experience them fully as they're there, and then let them go. And that's the whole purpose of this. And that gets us to the last thing, the very last thing. For those of you who are interested, we are, in the next few weeks, going to start a 10-week course on working in depth with this. For those of you here, especially those of you who are with us live now, this course will cost you nothing. The only requirement is that you commit to doing the whole 10 weeks for free. No strings other than that attached. That, and you're going to allow us to record it, because then we're going to turn around and turn it into a course for millions of people.
Yay, thumbs up for that. Thank you for the support. Yeah, I mean, we do have to find a way to support ourselves materially as well as emotionally and spiritually and all that stuff. So this is
buy
one way
t-shirts
that we make that happen. Yep.
So we're going to put this together as a course, and people will be able to do it online and learn the cool stuff, but y'all will get to do it live.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be able to help shape the course.
I think that's an important aspect to this. I know that Shri has pointed out that one of the things that's really great about this community is like the collective contribution that is almost inherent to the way that we do things. And that will be part of this live program that people are going to be taking part in. And then you will have shaped the program, and that'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah. So if y'all are interested, let us know. If anybody is watching this, if you are also a member of the Nine-Sided Circle Forum, you can contact us within the forum and go, yeah, I'd be interested in doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll probably take the first 20 people.
I think that's a good number. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes, but let's we're kind of going to shape this around 20 people. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave,
So-
I've already got your space reserved, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Yay. Yeah. Great. So yeah, that's what we have on the horizon, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, it will involve exercises. It will involve us sending you PDF files for you to read and have exercises on. There will probably be special extras and an opportunity to buy a t-shirt. We'll
Yep.
make a special t-shirt that is the Enneagram of the 9 Rasas for you. That'll be much nicer than what we've done so far.
How about the time? So yeah, we do have to sort out the details, and we'll probably do a little bit of collaborating with the group in that regard to see what's a good
there
fit.
will be a sweet spot where everybody in the world is awake at the same time. And we're going to find what that is, and that will be the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Because there's some of our European and Middle Eastern friends who are probably going to want to do this.
Yeah. It'd be really cool to get you guys all together. So
Yeah.
let's see what we can do.
And that's basically the talk for tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Any last questions? Any thoughts?
Actually, I've got one more angle.
Yeah, yeah.
You're talking about how these are very deep instinctive reactions,
Mm-hmm.
but one of the things that happens is other people try to manipulate them.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Advertising.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
How do
part of what
you-
we're going to be doing is taking away the power of advertisers and such, like multi-level marketers and religious people and whatever, to manipulate this.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you own these, they can't touch you.
Yeah, I was thinking about disgust, which is, it's great to have it protecting you from rotten meat, but there are people who will tell you that, oh, there's some group of people you should be disgusted at.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing too. And
Yeah, people will tell you that, and you'll find that there are groups of people that you will be disgusted with no help from anybody.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much. These are great. I mean, I'm just blown away at how useful and helpful and great what you shared really is. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Yeah, this is kind of just a taste test, us offering it up to you guys to see what you think. And it sounds like this could be pretty interesting to do as a course, and that's exciting for us. That's right on target. And
Yeah, and this has been a long time coming. I've been studying this since 1974, and just now I feel like I'm ready to actually say something intelligent about it.
mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and I'm excited too, because it'll be me like teaching and learning as well. And I feel pretty good about that as well. This is an area that I feel much more confident in, and it'll be good to bring that to the table. Yep. So Chris suggests 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to keep that in mind, and we'll follow
10:30
up
a.m.
with the
would
community.
work really well for some of our European and Eastern students, but would probably suck for our Aussie friends.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's like 4 a.m. for them.
So maybe we can push it a little later. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, but if we go much later, it's going to be hard for our European people.
Mhm. 'Cause it's gonna be
10:30
late for them.
a.m. is like 10:30 at night in, say, Dubai.
Dang. All right. Well, we got our work cut out for us for sure.
Yeah, we will find the space
Okay.
somewhere or to other. It will be there. And it'll be something that will be equally inconvenient for everyone.
Sometimes that's what it comes down to, honestly. Yep. All right, so do we have any closing thoughts, Mushrak?
Buy our t-shirts.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Like I said, if there's styles there that aren't there that you would prefer, we'll see what we can do if you let us know directly. NSC. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would totally be down with that. That's going to probably cost more than $20 though. For those of you who don't know what he said an NSC gambeson. The gambeson is a heavy padded jacket that you can use in fencing, or you can wear underneath chainmail.
That would be pretty rad though, Dave. We're going to keep that on the radar.
Yeah. What we can do is NSC patches that could be sewn on a gambeson.
Oh, yeah. I like that. You can put it on anything then. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm making a list.
Make a list.
I didn't even think about patches.
Yeah, I would put the NSC patch on my gambeson for sure.
All right. So I think we're good. I think we've covered everything we really wanted to cover this evening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is just a taste. This isn't even survey of the 9 Rasas. This is introduction to the survey of the 9 Rasas.
Yep.
Or sample of the introduction to the survey of the 9 Rasas.
Yeah. Well, great.
But here we have it.
So thank you guys. I guess we could go to Brady Bunch mode and wave
let's go to Brady Bunch mode.
to everyone watching on YouTube.
There we go. There's all of us. So thank you all, guys.
Yeah,
Take
thanks,
care,
guys.
and we will see you back in a week.